Guys, welcome back to some more AFK Arena. Today we're over on the YouTube account and looking at the PvP aspect. We are going to break down the treasure scramble. Now we know this is the forest debuff, and big shout out to AFK guys for coming up with the guide. We have 2 hours, so I'm going to get this out before this actually starts so you can adjust your formations. Make sure you put them in here, guys. Now you really have to go through the guide, figure out exactly what teams you have in their entirety, where exactly you have those heroes built, and also what beasts you do have to go along with those. And of course, guys, we want to make sure that you're scoring the highest as you can in here because it is very imperative because you get a ton of loot out of this game mode. So let's hop over, we'll take a look at the guide. All right, guys, so here we are looking at the Treasure Scramble Forest debuff. Big shout out again to the AFK guys for putting this out, guys. We're going to hop over here to Team 1, and this is actually the team that I am starting with. Team 1, Team 2 are the ones that I'm starting with the Treasure Scramble right now. So Team 1, of course, Ulna and Rem. This is a very, very old school comp. Ever since Ulna and essentially Rem, we've seen it with a lot of different heroes, including the Awakened version of Belinda. There's been a couple iterations, but with this debuff, based on the team, guys, Ulna Rem is the very core in here, as well as getting Damia in there as well as the survivability aspect. Now, I love this guide because not only does it provide the beasts that we should use in here, but it also has a lot of substitutions. So when I get over to my free-to-play account, I can actually sub in a bunch of heroes, including the Awakened version of Laika, because I do not have the Awakened version of Laika. But you can see, guys, looking at this team, we have Ulna and Rem, the Awakened version of Laika with Ezio and Damia, which means they are, of course, with the SP effect, but they are going to enter the battlefield a little bit later. So it's even going to give some more immunity and some more survivability to the Ulna-Rem combination, which we know they can't die anyways because of the Winter's Call that Ulna has. Very, very cool formation. Now, of course, if you don't have the Awakened version of Laika, you can actually go in there with Sophia, or you can see we have Lavatoon, we have the Awakened version of Athelia, Yennefer, or Joan we have seen in there. Now, a lot of players do not have the dimensional Ezio, which, of course, Ezio offers an insta-kill, which is huge, guys. But you can see we have Naruko in there, Awakened Athelia again, Lavatoon. We also have Lady Simona, and we also do have Yennefer in there. And then if you do not have Damia, guys, we have Joan and we have Palmer in to round out that formation. Now, before we get into the subs, this is the reason why I really want to go through this. It is one of the big things, guys, before you get into the substitutes in Team 1, see exactly what teams you are using, what teams you can use essentially to build out the best in slot formations based on here. Because looking at Team 2, just sliding over a little bit, we do have the Awakened version of Shamira. Now you can see, guys, she is the core, which means if you do not have that Awakened version of Sophia, of Shamira, you're actually going to be running a different team or a different variation in here because she is the core that really makes this team click. And then, of course, looking down here, guys, if you have no Awakened version of Shamira, this is looking at the Hippo comp, which, of course, is the Awakened version of Matria, which we've seen works incredibly well, guys. But in here, we have Kinisa and Rook. Now, of course, with this hero specifically, the energy disintegration piece and also the energy piece that we're going to see from Lady Simona and Ivan, as well as damage that we're going to see from Ogath, works incredibly well. And, of course, Shamira works with the energy disintegration. Looking at our subs in here, and I'm not going to go through all of those, guys, but here we have the Shroom Spooter, and of course, we have Vespero, which is the beast, and literally the only place that you're going to find this beast being used. Overall, guys, I do use the Shroom Spooter in there. It works incredibly well. But looking at some of the subs, now, again, thinking of substitutions within AFK Arena, there is a significant amount of subs, but you can see how they're almost equivalent or on the same level, guys, depending on where you do have those. And again, looking here, we have Kinisa and Rook, we have the original version of Aziz, we have Matria, we have Edwin Raid in there, the Awakened version of Baden, which again could be used possibly in another comp. But we also do have the new tank in here. That is right, guys. Altheus, I think it's Altheus or Althus, is being used within the formation. And I could see with the crowd control that he provides, similar to Kinisa and Rook, working incredibly well within those formations. Ogath, of course, we're looking for some more damage, possibly some more buffers, including Gavison here. Lady Simona, the same. Looking at Robin Hood, we have Lavatoon, which again, there's a couple different formations that these heroes can kind of be worked into. And then the 2-team version down here, which is, of course, was running the seal. But if you don't have the Awakened version of Shamira, again, the Matria comp is in here. And then you can kind of see the subs right down here in the bottom. And I will also put a link down below to the guide so you can definitely check it out yourself. Bookmark it and make sure that you do have it. Now, overall, this, of course, is another team that is kind of slowly developed. The awakened version of Belinda is a core in here, and you'll notice that most of these are buffers. Most of these are really energy regeneration heroes, or in the case of like a Gavis, you're going to have the damage mitigation, which of course is going to keep the awakened version of Belinda alive. We have buffs in here from Lavatoon. We have buffs from Jerome. We also do have buffs from Aziz. It's kind of crazy, the combination. Then of course we do have the Rock Lizard in here, which is going to up the survivability in here perpetually, and it works incredibly well. Looking at our subs in here, again, the support heroes, and this is why I really stress knowing what heroes you have, where you do have those heroes built out, and how effective they're going to be, because PvP is very dependent on where you do have these built out. So of course, guys, the sub for Aziz is Rowan, the energy battery right there. Also having the ability to have that energy potion and the ultimate ability, Halos, for the buffing. That of course is going to go right on Belinda. And then we do have Ivan in here as a sub. Same with 2, except it has Guineas in here for Jerome. Then, of course, if you do not have Gavis, there are a couple other versions or different versions that you can run in here, including the awakened version of Leica. Rain, Palmer. If you don't have Rain, you can actually put Palmer in there. And then, of course, it is the exact same with Lavatoon, guys. Looking at Rain. And again, most of these formations, when you look at Rowan, when you look at Halos, when you look at Ivan and Rain, they are the original formations when it came to the awakened version of Belinda, which have kind of slowly changed over time. Now this, guys, the awakened version of Thane and the Dims, this is a very old school, kind of earlier comp. You can see we have Vathiel in the awakened version of Thane in here. Big thing is Vathiel not only does a considerable amount of damage, he is a very, very strong buffer in this combination. Then, of course, you have Mulan in there for the crowd control. You have Amelia in there for the crowd control. You have also Albedo in there for the crowd control. Thane is just going to rip through everybody with the buffs that we see in here, especially with the crowd control and the energy regeneration that Amelia is going to provide. Then, of course, we do have the Owl that is running in here. Depending, again, where you have that Owl built, you might sub them in. Then, of course, looking in here, guys, Albedo is still probably one of the most important dimensional heroes that we see. Even down here, guys, the having Amelia in here makes a big difference. But you can almost see going from kind of team comp to team comp, the heroes that we have. So we have Guineas in here, we have Jerome, we have Naruko, we have, and of course, right here, guys, we do have the very, very strong buffer when it comes to Tamaris, very strong on buffing. But overall, you can see where the flexibility of a lot of these heroes really lie based on their formations. So getting into number 5. Now remember, guys, I believe it is 7 teams at this point. This is the SEAL team, and this is kind of the stall team with Liberta, because of course the ultimate ability in here, we have Lucilla and we have Liberta in there. Of course, we have the mitigation from Merlin, also survivability. Taylene will bring herself back to life. And then, of course, with the awakened version of Brutus, not only are you getting the SP effect, but you're also getting shielding, and you're also getting a lot of crowd control that Brutus does bring. So looking in here, again, thinking of the stall team, guys, Thorin was actually very strong in the stall team. So is the awakened version of Baden. So is Treznar and Kelthar. We have used all of those across multiple formations, working incredibly well because, one, they have an immunity, or they come back as ethereal spirits. So it's very hard to kill them, which is the inclusion with Thorin. You have to kill twice. The core is really the seal to let the seal do damage in this formation. And overall, these seal teams or the stall teams have worked incredibly well within the treasure scramble aspect. Looking at Team 6, this is an all-out burst team. Now, of course, the core in here, they do have Zolrath and they do have Tamaris. Leica, I would kind of beg to differ if she's a core as well. If you're looking at burst, the reason is Leica, of course, is going to cast the Awe ability. When you come into battle, then, of course, Zolrath is going to delay the enemy team, meaning your heroes are going to be doing a truckload of damage very fast as the burst team before the enemy even gets into the battlefield. So very, very strong right there. Then, of course, guys, Zolrath has to have the 3 of 9 furniture at a minimum to really be effective. But we also do have the SP effect of Matria in there. You can see Thane in here as well. We have Mulan, a couple other, even including Zafriel. But Tamaris works very, very well. And the awakened version of Leica, if you're running her, not running her in another formation, she will work incredibly well in this team. Looking at number 7, this is the Swolus, guys. Now, overall, this is a hero, of course, Tarnos, that I have not built, and I have no plan to build. But overall, guys, when you look at this team, it works incredibly well. And the logic behind this one is Baden has an ad Tarnos has his little stone pillars. The awakened version of Solus has the little sprites. Naruko, of course, has Nadia. And then you, of course, right here have our buffer for everybody who's in here, which is kind of crazy with Neve. But you do have a buffer that will buff up all 4 parts of what they do have in here. 4 in here, of course, is the awakened version of Solus. We have Neve and then Tarnos in here. I always run Kinisa and Rook in here. I'm going to be super interested, guys. I might actually run this with the new tank just because I do have the new tank that is in here. Now, overall, I think the crowd control aspect, survivability is going to work well. But we know that Mishka kind of serving in lieu of having Tarnos is really big because, of course, again, Neve will buff the wolves that Mishka does have, making it work incredibly well. And then, of course, we have quite a few different subs in here, depending on who you have built. And Awakened Baden, again, crowd control in there with that ad, getting buffed up from Neve works incredibly well. And our final comp in here, guys, is the bonus comp or the DIMS. We know most of these dimensional heroes were actually used elsewhere. And looking in here, guys, they're putting Liberta and Lucilla in here. And again, looking at Brutus, looking at Mulan, even looking at a couple other heroes. Most of them are used in a couple different places. But again, it is very dependent on the heroes that you have within AFK Arena and who you have built. A lot of players do have like a Liberta built, but they might not have Lucilla built within the formation. So again, working them together and knowing exactly what heroes that you're running. And I'm not seeing Eugene in here as of yet. It's going to be interesting to see, 1, if they're running Eugene in a couple comps, and 2, if the new Wilder tank is super effective. Now, I did build him out, which is very cool to see, and I want to know exactly how he's going to work in there. But all right, guys, so that is going to do it for today's video. Again, I'm going to leave a link down below so you guys can actually bookmark this, check it up over on Reddit. And again, a big thank you and a big shout out to the AFK guys for putting this together. Very, very cool content when it comes to the PvP aspect. So again, guys, that is going to do it for today's video. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. And as always, thank you guys for watching.